That's the best rooster we've ever had. He's an absolute gentleman. He takes care of his girls. And we've had some pretty mean roosters. Anyway, howdy ho there, fellow adventurers. Today I'm going to walk you through everything that broke, everything that we don't like about our camper van, things that we do like. In the end, I'll give you a rundown on, the pros and the cons. But first things first, I'm going to pull it out of the carport here because it's just no room in there. So we actually bought this camper trailer secondhand, although it was spotless, looked brand new. It was almost a year old from memory. It looked brand new, like it would just come off the showroom floor, and picked it up someplace in Brisbane, I think. The first thing that we found, that we noticed, which isn't the manufacturer's fault at all, was this pin here on the jockey wheel, and this is a different jockey wheel, I've eventually replaced it, was bent. It was bent. Not only that, these little hooks here that hold the chains up, they were bent in so tight that you couldn't hook up, you couldn't hang the chains on them, and they were both bent. So I think that the people we bought it from said they took it on one trip and it had made a round trip of about 400 kilometers. So we're thinking that they had a near-death experience, or they had a pretty bad experience, and I think this got away from them, and somehow the handle got bent and these got bent. So something fairly drastic, I think, happened, and I think that maybe that's why they sold it. This isn't for us. Let's get rid of this thing. This little gizmo here for helping you wind that front bit coming back. This was all getting rusty, so I've taken that apart and already fixed all that and treated the rust. This little black piece here of metal, which actually holds on to the brake, I think it's fairly flimsy for what it's supposed to be doing. Also, it's starting to rust, so I'm gonna have to take that off and fix that. This came with a King's fridge. It's been replaced with a, get to that. We've replaced that with this little beauty, a Dometic. I think it's 75 liters, pretty much basically the exact same size, but works so much better and draws so much less power. I've still got to rig up the wire so it just doesn't just hang there like I did last time. This is starting to get a little bit, I need to grease it or something. It's starting to get a little bit hard to take in and out. Okay, there's a little arm here. It's one of those things I think just vibrated off with all the corrugations. So I've got to put that back on. At the moment, it's just hanging there. If you look here closely, and again, this isn't the manufacturer's fault, but it's something you got to bear in mind. It's things you got to be kind of, careful with. So this has obviously been allowed to drop, and this is a really flimsy piece of metal, so it's just bending there. So I'm not sure how I'm going to fix that yet, but I think I'm going to strengthen that from the back with a piece of metal, tougher metal, and pop rivets. But other than that, everything in there is good. These rubber things that go over these struts, they're just must be really cheap, chintzy plastic, because they're just literally falling apart. And this is only a year and a half old. Since I've had it, it's always under cover, but we can replace those. You can still see the red dust from the top end. This was my fault. I think we're doing a 100-point turn, but hard to do. But I've just ripped that off, so an easy fix for that. But here, the absolute nightmare that we've had with this thing. Number one, well, there it is. Every single time I pull this out, I have an issue. So now I've got to figure out. Anyway, I'll get back to you. Be right back. If there was any one reason why I wouldn't buy this, it would be because of this thing here. Everything about it from day one has gone wrong. And even today, right now, I can't figure out exactly why it's not opening. So I'll have to get back to you on that. So the culprit was the actual gas hose. You have to try and somehow, when you're packing it away, you have to feed it up in here. There's no real place for it to go, so this one has actually caused a lot of problems, but nothing like you just witnessed. And trying to get it out, you can see I've done a little bit of damage there. Looks like it'll still work, but you know, geez. This too doesn't seem to be much of a problem. This we can usually tuck away. It's usually always that. Apart from the drawers, apart from the drawers, you can see how we've got it taped here. Our very first trip, we went to North Shore Beach just above Port Macquarie. Well, while we were packing away, I tried to pull this out, and this drawer had come out, but it wasn't open yet. So the drawer was coming out, and it was this little system here. This whole gizmo here didn't allow it to come out. So it took me an hour, 45 minutes or something like that to try and get that. Well, we haven't even left yet. This is what I've done. I went to put some stuff in. I was gonna put some silverware away in here, and back in there's a drawer that comes out. Well, I didn't close that properly, and now I've got to figure out how to close that door. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to jack it up so that as high as it'll go. Hopefully it's going to make the door want to go back in, and then somehow maybe try and weasel that back in. So until we get that fixed, we ain't going nowhere. That door closed enough so I could open it. So from then on, we started just taping this door shut. Then this one started happening, so now we do that, and also that one. Now here's the thing: these are actually a little bit adjustable, which I've adjusted them as high as they can go. It still doesn't work, so this is why everything is taped down. The other issue, and I'll address all this at some point, I'll take this whole system out, but this system here where you got the water and some plug-ins and like a car lighter plug-in thing, you had all this wiring back here, which it's just hanging there. It's like it's not attached to the side. It's just loose. It's going there, and so many times excuse me, so many times the door would catch on, or the corner would catch onto it, wouldn't allow it to open. And I just had the absolute shites, and I just ripped the hell out of it. So I've got to replace all that, but while I'm doing that, I'll figure out a way to where so it stays out of the way. But as for the drawers, I don't know what I'm going to do there. Any engineers out there would love it with some ideas or different, I don't know, but somebody's probably figured out something to do there. The other thing, these two little rubber thingos, this one would just get stuck there. It would just, like it was suction cupped on there or something. And trying to get it off one time, that stayed. The platform went up. So all I did was I replaced it with a wider thread, and so far that's working pretty good. But just all these little things that keep happening. When we were up at the top, CapeYork and all that, I got into the habit every day walking around this and just looking for things that might possibly be wrong. And what I noticed is that got loose. Okay, not a big deal, easy fix. I still haven't fixed it yet. But that came loose. So I guess my point there is always walk around it and just look at things, check things, see if there's something out of the ordinary. These two boxes, they've never closed properly, and I spent an hour trying to adjust them, but they're just, I put that down to just something I'm gonna have to live with. I think it was our second getaway. I can't remember, but it was, we'd only had it put about 3,000 kilometers on this, and that was actually also part of that was bringing it down from Brisbane. But we were going along the highway, and I just looked in the rearview mirror and I noticed some smoke. So I pulled over, and what had happened is the bearings in here just absolutely shot. So we arrived at our destination a day late, but we arrived at our destination a day late and $1,000 out of pocket. The boys there that fixed it for us said that this is a pretty common occurrence. They said it probably made in China. They only put enough grease in just to get by or something like that. So I said, look, can we do the other side too? So they re-greased the other side. But yeah, I'm not sure if that's that does seem to come down to manufacturing, maybe trying to cut corners. I don't know, but cost us a lot of money. And on top of that, another good lesson I learned, I've got spare bearings in this and grease, just in case. The strut on this side, same thing. All the rubber's coming off. There's rust over all of this already. The stabilizer legs, they're still in pretty good nick, but down here in particular, they're all starting to get a little bit of rust. Here again, it's a wiring thing. If you have a close look here, you got the wire just kind of just hanging there. Goes to a little light, and underneath here, I think at night it turns on when you're looking, when you open the door or something. There's a little sensor here. But look, that I haven't addressed this yet, but you know, it's not in my book. That's not satisfactory. I'm just noticing this one's very loose, so I'll address that. Down here, where this gas bayonet, I think you call it, goes into, plugs in here. There was a little plastic cap that kind of pushed in and tightened, but it got harder and harder and harder to use. And eventually I couldn't get it off, so I just ripped it off with a pair of pliers. And now I just put a piece of tape over it. To me, there needs to be a whole different setup. So look, it's not all bad, and those are little things, and most of them are fairly easy to fix. I think that I think for anyone that buys a camper van and pays this sort of price, you're going to get probably kind of the same thing. There's going to be little things that's going to go wrong, little things that are going to break. As an off-road unit, by all means, wherever I can take that, that's going to follow. It's got a huge amount of clearance. It does seem to be, in that regard, seems to be built really tough. Just looking at underneath the bottom there, they put some decent gear into there. You can drag, like I said, you can drag this almost anywhere. Having it set up, the canvas is really good. I know it comes in weight or thread or something like that, but it's pretty good. We did have a couple of leaks. I did call up the people we bought it from. They said, did you season it? They said they did, but I don't think they did. I seasoned it here one day, but even still, we had a couple of leaks. So when this is up, there was a couple of leaks in one of these corners, or both these corners, I can't remember. But I get from being in the rain a few times, nothing leaks anymore. So it is well and truly seasoned now. So quite happy with all of that. We live outside. We don't, when the camper's set up, we hardly ever sit in here. This is just used for storage and putting our extra clothes and things like that. We put the awning up, and that's usually wherever we go. We've never had the walls up. We've never had the floor down. And I can't see us doing it. It's just too much work, and there's too much time wasted when you could just be drinking a beer, sitting back looking at the waterways or over the ocean or something like that. And probably, I think, the absolute best thing about this brand of camper trailer is the customer service. From what I've seen and experienced, is probably second to none. So if you do have issues, I think his name is John Laws. He's going to look after you. It's actually, I found it, well, I was actually amazed from the responses I saw from him to other people that have a long haul camping trailer. So in that regard, you're not going to be left high and dry like so many of these nightmare stories you hear about people buying caravans. That's the end of it. They might have bought a lemon, but There's no recourse. There's nothing. They're stuck. And in my book, customer service goes a very, very long ways. Although I've never really called John. Maybe at the beginning I was having a few difficulties just trying to figure things out, especially the electrical system. And like, he's right on it. So until our next camping trip, which is going to be, I think, Point Plummer. Going to go with some friends, but that won't be till probably February. Got to get January, Christmas, all that over. It's a busy time here on our little farm. So until then, Merry Christmas. Have a good one, you guys.